Don't wait till Friday to tell us. Don't wait till Friday. 6:40. Let's go to the KUM News Zoom room, and we brought Dr. Lombard on. Because he's an eye doctor, we have a lot of questions about the screens, but he's also a COVID cruncher. And Doc, God, I know I told you, I was like, let's bring you on. We're going to talk eye doctor. You're like, yeah. But I just got to ask you just a couple real quick COVID questions. First of all, primary election. Do you have an opinion on whether or not we should move forward with it, cancel, postpone? What are your thoughts on that? I'm curious.
Chris, I haven't really looked into the particulars yet about what it takes to put those on, and if they could possibly do it safely. And obviously, they're worried about voter turnout as well. Despite all the best intentions of trying to get people out on time, if you're not going to have the turnout to make it a meaningful event, then I think consideration for postponing it is okay in my book.
Also, let's talk about the prohibition of public parks and beaches for individual exercise and mental. Was that mental exercise? I do that all the time, but I mostly do it laying down in bed, and I imagine I'm doing like 500 squats. But I don't think that's what they mean. So, Doc, because you're an outdoorsy guy, right? You ride bike and all that stuff. So, what are your thoughts on this?
Outdoorsy guy and a physician. I think a lot of the physicians, probably said that's not a great idea to prohibit that, but she's obviously worried about the people that are going to take advantage of that and do things they're not supposed to. But she kind of made her bed with that, and it puts the medical professionals in a tough spot. They want to advocate for the overall health of their patients, and we know that exercise is very important to boost our immune system. So we're in a position where we either just try to back the governor no matter what, because it's what she said, versus try to give at least a little bit of a balanced opinion about it.
Right.
I don't know any physician who necessarily thinks it was a great idea to include that as part of the PCOR 1 measures. So if this thing is extended, I certainly hope that that's one part of this that they'll reverse.
The last one, the CDC guidelines last week, they came out and they said, hey, quarantine 14 days, maybe not so much, but they're leaving it up to the states and the territories, right? That being said, do you think if the CDC guidelines say we don't really need that 14-day quarantine, or, they've obviously changed their tune on that, what does that mean for local quarantine?
I really don't understand what the impetus was for them removing that. And we may be reading more into it than necessary. If you went and asked them for an opinion about your specific location, I'd be shocked if they didn't say they would recommend some sort of quarantine procedure. So, they're leaving it up to the local the local jurisdiction and authorities to make that decision. And I don't really read into too much to that. I guess we'd have to reach out to some CDC rep to ask what was behind that.
Right. That's why I wanted to ask you, a reasonable guy, and so you got reasonable opinions. That being said, let's go on, because Bree is just so excited for this. She's focusing on her screen right now.
Yeah, I wanted to ask about the whole blue light, and with all the kids that are on remote learning. I know my son, he's doing it, and there was a point last week that he was talking about how he had headaches, and of course I was a little scared, like, oh shoot, that's one of the symptoms, right?
Of COVID.
But he was fine, and then I went into a parent teacher meeting for his school over the weekend, and it was interesting because they brought that up, that the long-term exposure of the kids sitting in front of their screen for distance learning, and is there anything that the school can do?
Right. And this is not just, I was telling Bria, I don't know if this is just something that we're dealing with now because of distance learning, but the whole screen culture. I mean, even before COVID, and then if you go back to the lockdown, we were all staying home. I mean, whose kid wasn't just...
And Chris thought I was cuckoo when I was bringing this up last week, and I was like, I don't know.
But when one of my
schedule though, Dr. Lombard?
She was like, yeah, they have these blue glasses, and I was like, what, blue glasses? And I thought she was cuckoo until I went to Iran, and when my party in Iran's like, hey, party, you ever heard of the blue glasses? That's when I was like, oh, this is a thing. Okay, yeah, let's get Dr. Lombard.
So what exactly is this blue light? Can you break this down for us?
Yeah, well, it's I sent you guys some slides. I don't know if Jason's going to be able to pull those up or not. But I see them, I see these ads popping up on my feeds, and you'll see them online, commercials, ads, and oftentimes when the glasses, if you see pictures of them, they'll have sort of either yellowish or an amber, even a light brown sort of color to the lens. And the whole point of the lens is to block the rays of light that have the wavelength of the blue color range, so that it doesn't hit your retina. It's a market that's growing phenomenally over the past few years, and evidence of that is how much more we're seeing it. Bottom line up front, though, just to give you the summary and at the beginning, it's probably more just marketing hype than anything that you need to be concerned about. Now, there are definitely reasons for eye strain, when you're looking at screens all day long, but the blue light aspect of that is probably not a big one. And we'll go over some of those things. So, if you look, you'll also see, a wide range of prices. I mean, I've seen blue light blocking glasses that go for well over $100, and that's non-prescription. You want to add a prescription to that, obviously it's going to cost you hundreds of dollars like your normal glasses, plus a little bit more for the blue light blocking material. And you'll see various tests that they do where they show you, they'll have a blue light and they'll shine it through the lens, and you'll see how much of the light it blocks. I don't know, Jason, are you able to scroll to the next second and third slide there?
Yep.
So you've got the blue light just being, from what I've read, 80% of the blue light can be blocked out by these lenses. And you can go ahead and move up to slide 4 then. So what is blue light exactly? Well, in terms of the light spectrum, the color that we see is based on the wavelength, and the wavelength is related to the energy that the light can put out. But if you're looking at the full electromagnetic spectrum, it's pretty incredible that the visible light, what we see is this incredibly small sliver of that full spectrum. But that's what we see because that's what's around us, and our eyes were adapted to be very sensitive to those wavelengths. And way down in that 450 range is where you see those blue light wavelengths. On to slide 5. Now we just will sort of expand that blue light spectrum, and within that blue light spectrum there's sort of a lighter blue turquoise to a blue violet, and then an ultraviolet, and that's where the ultraviolet rays start to become a little bit more damaging to the skin, obviously, and also potentially to parts of the eyes. And so the proponents of blue light blocking glasses will say that it can be the blue light, especially as you get in even the lower wavelengths, can cause cataracts. It can contribute to diseases like macular degeneration, but there's really been no good data to support that. The blue turquoise wavelengths have actually been shown to cause some disruption of the sleep-wake cycle, and what we think blue light does is that it regulates the amount of melatonin that your brain secretes. And melatonin, as you guys probably know, sometimes people take melatonin to help them sleep. Well, the blue light that we get from the sunlight, because that's obviously our biggest source of light, it suppresses melatonin because it wants you to kind of stay alert and stay awake throughout the daytime. So the biggest concern, and actually the only real concern that's borne out in studies, has been, hey, if you use a lot of screens on a really bright setting right before bedtime, that extra blue light you're getting may be suppressing your melatonin at a time when your melatonin wants to start ramping up so you can get to sleep. And there have been some studies that have shown people have had disrupted sleep cycles, and that can affect, attention for the next day, memory retention, things like that. You can go to slide 6. Yep. And this is kind of what caused the big hubbub. People looked at LED screens and looked at what are the wavelengths that are secreted, that are emitted by LED screens. And very curiously, you see this very big spike in that 450 range. And so I think that the marketers really jumped on this and said, hey, the LED screens are really focusing a lot of the blue light, or emitting a lot of blue light relative to some of the other wavelengths. But when you really look at it, you can go on to the next slide. Now, that blue line there at the bottom, if you have the LED, is the LED light, and you can see that they just kind of compress the scale a little bit. You can see that blue spike at 450. But guess what? That orange line is there. Those are your fluorescent lights, which also has a really big spike. That's even lower than the 450 wavelength. But nobody made a big deal out of fluorescent lights for whatever reason. They're making a big deal out of the blue light because of the LED spike. I think that's the main reason. But then the other key point is, if you go to the next slide, Jason, is that if you take indirect sunlight and it just completely overwhelms the amount of all wavelengths that you're getting from LED screens. Now, if you use LED screens on a really bright, at the brightest setting for 16 hours a day, you probably would see some multiples higher of what's shown on this. But I seriously doubt that it's going to ever get to the level of indirect sunlight and you put direct sunlight on there, and I think that the magnitude of the exposure actually doubles compared to what you're seeing there. So next slide, Jason. Now, what we're worried about, though, is that this higher energy light will cause kind of flickers, and that can possibly be related to one of the reasons why people will have eye strain. But people have eye strain for a number of different reasons, and some of those can be simply dry eyes. You could have a prescription need that's not being accounted for, and so there's something that we refer to as computer vision syndrome, where you get stuck looking at this focal point of a foot and a half away, and it can cause eye strain and headache. So we advocate this 20-20-20 rule, which you may have heard before, where every 20 minutes you look away for 20 seconds at a point 20 feet away. And it's hard to, especially when you're really involved and focused on a project, to remember to do that, but it does help to relieve this computer vision syndrome that we're seeing. If you look at the glasses that they're making, again, they're blocking maybe 80% of ultraviolet. And I'm sure you've heard of the anti-glare coating that you typically get on your standard glasses. We think that blocks maybe about 20%. So that's not really doing a whole lot if you are interested in trying to block that blue light. Now, next slide. We do know too much screen time. There are studies that show it can be related to attention deficit disorders, also obesity. We know that there's an association between obesity and too much screen time. And also, there's very good data that shows the more you read and more you're looking up close, that the nearsightedness will progress. So if your prescription is in that minus range, you're nearsighted. So if you're -2 or -3 right now, especially as a child, you're very, very likely to progress to higher degrees of myopia. You might get to -6, -7 eventually. And really high myopia, when you get down to like -8, -9, -10, there are definitely adverse effects of that. So if you go to slide 11, I pulled this off of a website. These are the current American Academy of Pediatrics recommendations. These are current for the amount of screen time that you should get. And it's pretty interesting. And they say if you're under 2 years old, you should really get 0 screen time. And I think that a lot of parents, and myself included, find that very challenging to do.
What?
Yeah. And then even in the 2 to 5 year age group, they're saying an hour a day, and 6 or older, they're really going to ask you to tailor it according to, to what your child's needs are. And they also are going to advocate that if they have a lot more screen time, that you are become an active participant in that. You talk to them about what they're watching, and making sure that what they're watching is age appropriate. So my take home points on the last slide here is that there's definitely no definitive adverse effects to the eye, other than possibly some effects on sleep. We know that we get a heck of a lot more blue light from the sun than we do from digital screens. Recommend you follow the AAP guidelines for the amount of screen time. And if you do get eye strain or headaches, it is possible it is influenced by blue light. And I'll say this: I've got my optometrist that works with me, Dr. Archer. He gets migraines, and he truly believes his migraines, because he's been dealing with them for so long, she's triggered by LED screens and sort of computer screens, and so he started wearing blue blocking lenses a couple years ago, and he swears by them. So anecdotally, there's people who think it really benefits them, and from that perspective, I say give it a try. I mean, if you feel like you're having eye strain and nothing else, if you've seen an eye doctor and nothing else, there's no other issues, or you don't need glasses, things like that, you're taking care of your dry eye syndrome, then it's absolutely something you can try. And you don't have to spend a ton of money on it either. You know, when you see blue tinted sunglasses, you know, that the only wavelength that those glasses are passing through is blue. If you see amber tinted sunglasses, then really the amber red sort of color wavelength, so the only wavelength or in that range is what passing through. So an amber tinted sunglass, a very inexpensive pair of glasses, will block a high proportion of blue light. So if you wanted to try it sort of on a much more inexpensive scale, you know, I think that's one option that you could do.
Hey, Doc, I got a real quick question, because you know I really appreciate the fact that you were citing that 20-20-20 rule, because as a computer programmer, as someone who's written code since, you know, I was
nerd.
There you go. Thank you. I was waiting for that. I set them up, you knock them down, partner. But you know, we basically learn when we're studying computer science when we're young. If you want to make this your career, you have to apply the 20-20-20 rule. Otherwise, your career is going to be cut short. But one thing that I wanted to ask you, Doc, is there's one thing that that we in computer science have had a lot in the tools that we use. It's called dark mode, and now you see Twitter's got a version where you can switch to dark mode. WhatsApp's got dark mode.
Yeah.
Facebook has dark mode right now, where basically the background of your user interface would be all black, and then the text would come out white. Does that have any bearing on young people? You know, if they can switch on their apps to dark mode, does that actually reduce the strain on their eyes in that regard?
I would think so. You know, the only white light then that's coming from your screen is from the text, which is
right.
You know, certainly a lot less than if the background is white. So not only dark mode, but also, you know, a lot of devices now will have a blue light blocking mode as well. I turn it on my phone, and you can see as soon as sunset hits, it kind of turns more to sort of an amber color. And it'd be great if somebody could study that someday and see its effect on sleep patterns and things like that. But absolutely, I'd say if you are using your phone in the evening, dark mode, blue light mechanism if you can, and then also just turn the dimness down as much as you can. I mean, it's hard to obviously see what you're trying to read, but they also make screen shields that you can apply to your tablet or your phone, which will do the same thing if it doesn't have sort of a dark mode or a blue light blocking sort of effect to the screen. You can also just get screen shields. And even things, you know, parental controls. You can, you know, for your kids, you can install apps. I've heard of one called Zift and another one called Screen Time, which will allow you to better manage the times that your children are looking at their screens.
I'm just trying to find an app that allows you to block, like, what does the fox say?
There is actually one, and I just wanted to mention that there's actually a fairly rare photosensitivity type of epilepsy where you can get seizures that are triggered by screens, and interestingly, they actually would benefit from having a blue lens that allows their eyes to see blue. So I just wanted to mention that in case people came across it. I've had a couple patients ask me about it. It is interesting. I have had a lot of patients that reach out to me and friends that in the past year that they'll just message me off the side and say, "Hey, what do you think about these blue light blocking glasses?" So this was timely, and I appreciate you letting me chat about it with you guys.
I'm glad, because I thought it was like a flat earth thing. I didn't know how legit it was. But
by any chance, Doc, have any schools or principals reached out to you about this, or parents recently?
I'm sorry?
Have any schools or parents, teachers reach out to you about this?
I've had a number of parents reach out to me on just asking me sort of on the side that, you know, on Messenger or something. They'll just say, "Hey, what's your take?" And it really, again, it comes down to a little bit more individually tailored. You have to ask more questions about what kind of symptoms are they having. And sometimes they need an eye exam. If you have a need for glasses, especially if you have trouble seeing things up close, and you're trying to strain your eyes through that could be the reason why you're developing eye strain. You just need a pair of glasses. Maybe the blue light blocking isn't the solution for you. So there can be a few different things. And, you know, the 20-20-20 rule, dry eyes, you know, if you want to just try some things at home before spending money on blue light. But I think it's a reasonable thing to try if you've sort of ruled out these other issues. And if there are any parents or administrators at the schools that are interested in learning more, absolutely they can reach out to me.
All right.
What about, sorry, I wanted to ask, you know, adults, right? So a lot of us will, when we go to bed, kind of go on the phone, we run through the YouTube or the news and all that. Sometimes I find myself doing it for, 30 minutes, and you go down a rabbit hole. How does that affect my sleep, or does it?
It could. It's that you're getting blue light from your phone, and if it's suppressing the melatonin secretion at a time when your brain thinks it should start secreting the melatonin to help you fall asleep, it absolutely could affect your sleep cycle, and some studies have absolutely shown that. So that's one reason. But I would say if your if you're having trouble sleeping, okay, this should be part of your nighttime ritual and nighttime hygiene, is to really limit the amount of screen time that you have as you're trying to get ready for bed.
Right.
If you're having trouble. Now, if you sleep like a log, no matter how much, how far down that rabbit hole you get, you fall asleep no matter what very easily, then, maybe you don't have to worry about it.
Doc, and I wanted to, because I know you're talking about the effects, but just the screen culture, our youth, we didn't do this. We played outside. I mean, there was Super Nintendo. So we kind of were into the video games, but I've always been an outside. Just what are your thoughts on the kids, and they've always got to have the damn tabs and the phones?
Yeah,
I know you're a parent. It's tough because sometimes you want them to have it, right?
It is, and I think the other argument is if they're not. If they don't know how to use their devices effectively, are they going to be at a disadvantage? Because it's how we get our information these days. It's how we do research. It's I think kids are pretty malleable and adaptable. So I think that you wouldn't be wrong to really try to limit the amount of screen time that they have. I think there's some smart people out there that they're looking for real harm that can come from device use, and I think we covered, the ones that at least we feel like are the most worrisome right now. Thankfully, nothing more serious that we've identified to this point, because you're right. It's kids are walking around, but we're doing it too. I'll be staring at my phone on the couch, and the girls will pull it down and say, "Look at me, Daddy, look at me." And so I feel, what kind of example are we setting for them when they see this little screen taking up so much of our time and our attention and taking it away from them?
Yeah, Doc. So, and this is my message to parents out there. I'm not an expert. I do have 5 of them, but it's a battle of will, right? So when you take that device, your kid, especially the young one, they're going to scream, they're going to kick, they're going to cry, but they'll get over it. Like Saturdays, I take all the devices. Nope, no device all day. We go all day. We do fun things. We draw pictures. My son is always like, you take our tab, but we're watching a movie. They start arguing your logic. Yeah, but we're watching a movie together, okay? Doc, thanks. Yeah. Anything in closing you want to add here?
No, thanks so much. It's refreshing to talk about something other than COVID, and I appreciate you.
Maybe we need to do a whole other show like No COVID. Yeah. We'll be like Ronald Reagan COVID-free zone. No COVID here.
No COVID zone. Yeah.
All right. No vid. Thanks, Doc. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Take care.
Take care, guys.
Okay, bye-bye. And they don't get used to not talking about COVID, because next time we have you on, it's all COVID all day.
Stay safe.
Yeah, wash your hands and your blue glasses.
No, you guys, that 20-20-20 rule.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, when you're a young coder, learning how to use like a computer and everything like that. No, seriously, that is the Bible.
When you're a young coder coming up
they drill that into
your bedroom.
Like, if you want a future in this industry, practice the 20-20-20 rule. Do not deviate, because
you want a future in this industry, boy. Not everyone can code. This is the life we chose. What you know about the 20-20-20 rule?
There you go.
Huh? What you know?
Well, no, it's
you ain't coding like this.
Okay, okay. And as someone who has had to dedicate, literally half of my life now to staring at screens, kind of in the way that when you were doing radio,
right.
How did you have to take care of your hearing?
It's jacked up. My hearing's screwed.
Is it?
Yeah. On my left.
Okay. And at my age of 46, I've actually had to wear reading glasses now for the last year and a half, because both of my parents, their eyesight, they've both worn glasses for like a really long time, but.
So you followed the 20-20 rule and you still messed up your eyes.
Yeah, no, 20-20-20. That's even if you're not a coder. I must emphasize, everybody out there, what the doc said is absolute truth. Just do that. Every 20 minutes, look away for 20 seconds and just relax.
Look away!
It is going to save your eyes and your peepers. You're going to be able to get so much work done. And yeah, if you're having a headache, like Sabrina brought up and everything
you're
like that.
You're giving her a headache is what her headache is. It's got nothing to do with the screens.
I just realized, like, I think I'm already screwed when you look at this 18 months or younger, no screen time.
Well, that's encouraging.
18
What is that?
months to
Yeah.
2
What
years.
is that?
Oh,
you want me to
gosh,
bring
I
that
have
up?
Yeah, pump that up
My
again, dude.
son has been iPadding since, ever since.
I mean, if you look at this, like all our kids are going to grow up to be serial killers.
Hey!
No, because, okay, 18 months to 2 years, limit screen time and avoid solo use. Choose high quality educational programming and watch with kids to ensure understand. I don't want to watch unboxing videos for 4 hours.
No, my son, when he was younger, he would watch the like the alphabets, do the numbers,
Yeah.
tracing the numbers. He was so good. He was doing the alphabet backwards.
Yeah, and
really
then-
quick.
yeah.
He was, I think he was with Marie, and we were in, I think it was Rollins' office, and there's a map. And my kid, he was actually reading. Like,
Yeah, that's how it all starts, Bree. And then, a couple weeks later, they're, repeating Donald Trump quotes to you.
no, that's not how.
Oh, my kids, yeah. So 2 to 5 years, limit screen time to an hour a day. Parents should watch as well to ensure understanding and application to their world. 6 or older, place consistent limits on the time spent and types of media. Don't let screen time affect sleep, exercise, or other behaviors. Yeah, some of the stuff that's out, my kids, they like watching these. This is the weirdest freaking thing. Again, you guys know about this. They watch videos of people playing video games.
Yes.
And it's like these dads, these creepy dads that play video games with their kids, and the dads are just like, hey, we're really loving this video game, and hey, man, and they just talk, and I can't handle it.
My son has learned to put what's on the iPad onto the TV. What is
Oh,
that called?
God.
Airdrop.
Yeah.
No.
He's linking
No,
it.
He's linking
Yeah.
the.
You're casting it.
Oh
Yeah,
my
right,
gosh!
yeah.
And so you're right. I hear this guy.
Yeah, I was
talking
It's
gonna
about
that
say,
guy.
The thing about the video games.
I forget his name, but there's
Tread
that one
carefully
guy.
there, because Ken St. Nicholas is gonna come running in here and
Yeah.
like.
No, there's the one guy
Not
who's like,
even
we
next
just
week.
love playing Fortnite, and I'm more
Yeah,
excited than my kids to
It's
play Fortnite.
And then
Anyway,
there's a
yeah.
thing called Roblox.
Roblox, yeah.
No, okay. Well, when we were children, right? I had headaches too because in between my junior and senior year when I was at Sanchez, right? I read all of what would be considered Stephen King's classic era stuff. I mean, if you read The Stand, I had headaches every single night because I was reading like 200, 250 pages a night.
Yeah.
That's a 1,600 page
Old
book.
school problems.
Yeah, but and what we've learned now is because of tablets and because of Kindles and readers. They would say before, you have to read and you have to be in a well-lit area, or that you do that thing where like you back up against the lamp and everything.
Man,
these devices now are artificially lit.
Right.
So I mean, they're and the specific hues and the colors they put off, they're shades of beige and of green and of black on white and white on black and everything that are meant to actually reduce the strain on your eyes.
You took me back. One of the things my mom always told me when I was growing up, she'd always be like, Christopher, you're going to hurt your eyes, because I was always reading books all the time. And I would read like by the candle, by the ambient light coming out of the room. And she was just always like, you're going to hurt your eyes. I'm surprised I don't have messed up eyes.
But you know what's funny? Our parents always told us when you're kids, don't watch TV in the dark, don't turn the volume up too loud, and don't sit too close to the screen. Right?
Yeah. Don't read in the dark. Yeah.
And now that's what everybody
best
does when we
advice
watch
my
Netflix.
mom ever gave me. Don't read in the dark.
Oh man.
And don't stand too close to the TV, right?
Yeah.
Because you're blocking it. That's what it was.
Also, no, there's health
That was
versus
the
ethics
reason.
now.
Jay. Yeah. Okay, thanks for that. Guys, I think we're done on the screens.
That was cool.
Anymore? That was Bree.
Super cool.
That was for Bree. Bree wanted that interview so bad.